Hi, I've been busy traveling. It's art show season, so that means making trips to go to different art festivals and set up booths there to sell my artwork. As a professional artist, that's just a big part of my income for the year. So we always try to have some fun with it too, though, and so I call it our workcation because it's what we do in lieu of vacation. My husband uses his vacation time in order to do these shows, and we mostly enjoy it. This year, I already shared with you a trip to Dallas for a show, and I want to jump in here real quickly before I get to our other travel. I included my week as artist in residence at the Red Barn Studio in Lindsborg. I included that in this travel journal because it was time away from home. So I just did a short little, I guess 2-page or 1-page with a title page there, kind of talking about the experience. I did it with my daughter Abby. So I just kind of, paid a little bit of a nod to the fact that we went on this trip. So one thing I like about travel journals is like this, I covered 5 days in just this page. Other times I might do more than 1 page per day, or 1 page per day, or just whatever suits the occasion. So I like that flexibility. I'm working in my traveler's notebook. I'm using the special travel edition by Travelers Company Notebook. Travelers Notebook Company. Just Travelers Company. It's got this letterpress cover that was kind of cool, so I thought that was fun to use. So in this one, we were going to 2 art shows. We live in Kansas. We're going to 2 art shows, one in Whitefish, Montana, which is up almost to the Canada border, and the other one was in Colorado, in Golden, Colorado. So we were going to do those 2 shows before we came back home. So I put in here, this is one of my printables on Patreon, as is this little map of the United States, and I thought this was kind of a fun thing to do, to I just used watercolors and painted in the states that this trip would include. And Buster is our shuttle bus, and these were 4 new states for Buster. He's been a lot of places, but he was getting in 4 new states. So on the 27th was the day we left, and I just talked a little bit about one of our interesting stops was in Lucas, Kansas, which if you have not been there, you need to visit the public restrooms there because they are all mosaiced, and they are just really amazing. Marie Pilar did all the mosaic work and just did an incredible job. My husband was all excited when we got to Waldo, Kansas, that he had found Waldo, so I had to stop and take a picture there. We had a little break where my husband and daughter that was with us went on a little bicycle ride. This is where we ate supper, and here's Buster amongst the semis where we spent the night at a truck stop. And going on to the next day, we made it to Billings, Montana, where we stopped for supper, and then we drove on a little bit further and stayed at a rest area along the way, spent the night there. But Buster was beginning to have a little trouble overheating, so we were starting to get a little bit concerned about that. We had to drive a little slower, especially going uphill, to take care of that. Also in Billings, Montana, they had these really cool they had utility boxes on the street that they had painted, or maybe they were wraps put on them. I'm not sure which, but they were beautiful artwork on them, so that was fun. Then we had planned to spend a day in Bozeman, Montana. We had been there before. There was a second-hand store that had all kinds of cool second-hand sporting goods that my husband wanted to go to. The University of Montana campus bookstore has a wonderful art section, which I wanted to stop at, so we did both of those things. So we had just a fun day spent in Bozeman. I got some fun new art supplies, and also found myself some Birkenstock sandals, which I painted here. One thing I like about travel journaling is it kind of challenges me to make do without having every supply imaginable along with me. So I do a little bit more drawing and sketching, which is really good for me, and I would like to do that more of the time in my practice. So I think this is the next day? No, this is still in Bozeman. So this is our lunch we had. Again, I drew pictures of it. We went to a sandwich place that was kind of fancy and had some fun sandwiches. Here's Buster again, still having a little trouble overheating. I got a YouTube video posted this day. Our air conditioner didn't work in Buster. We tried to get it fixed before we left and they weren't able to. I'm not sure what the problem is, but we had a kind of a hot drive. So when we got to this campground, we decided to stop at Devil's Elbow Campground at the Helena National Forest. And there was this dock there in a lake, and we just sat at the dock and just put our feet in the cold lake water, and it was just so refreshing. And so we just really enjoyed spending some time there and enjoying the beauty. Here's my daughter as the sun was going down. And then the next morning, it was just beautiful. Out the front window, we could look and see the lake that was right in front of where we were parked. We had this beautiful view. This I cut out of a magazine, this Home Sweet Home Away, and that just seemed very fitting because it was, you know, just pretty and a lot prettier than a Walmart parking lot, which we also, or truck stop that we often stay in. On the 30th, we kind of had a leisure morning. My husband and daughter went on a bike ride around the lake. Well, not around the lake, but near the lake. And I worked on my travel journal, and we had steaks in the cooler that we needed to use. And so rather than wait, we hadn't had, while we're driving, it's hard to have time to cook a nice meal, so we just decided we'd go ahead and eat them for breakfast, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it. So we had a steak and potatoes and carrots and these wonderful cheese biscuits from Trader Joe's that we heated up in the skillet, and just had a very unusual for us to have we're usually light breakfast eaters, so we had this huge steak dinner for breakfast, so that was kind of fun. And then as the day went on, we made it to Helena, but when we tried to leave Helena, and we stopped at a Planet Fitness. We have a membership there, and that's where we get our showers when, you know, we're not staying anywhere where a shower is available, like truck stops, rest stops, etc. So we stopped at Planet Fitness to get showers. But when we tried to head out of Helena, and we're only, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours away from Whitefish, our destination at this point, but it's all very steep grade, and Buster just could not do it. It was overheating. So we found a diesel repair shop that was willing to work us in, but not in time to get to Whitefish for the show. So we started trying to rent a vehicle. We found this this one through RV Share and put a request in. It was this size camper, and it would have been very comfortable, but it never did go through. He never got back with us. So, you know, really trying to not panic about the show. In the meantime, we're kind of hanging out in Helena, trying to figure out what we're going to do. So we made the best of it. We went and got frozen yogurt. Then we went to Starbucks. Really, we were just looking for cool places to be. So we went to Starbucks, and at this point, we're just waiting to hear back from the RV place. So, after we left Starbucks, we went, because they were, you know, going to be closing. So we went back to Buster, which my husband had parked in the shade of a Safeway store. So we kind of set up camp, but it was too hot to be in the bus, so we set up outside, and we had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and chips, you know, for supper, sat in the shade, and we watched a movie sitting there on the sidewalk, and actually it was a pretty pleasant evening. And then went back to the repair shop and spent the night in their parking lot. So the next day was Thursday. The show begins on Friday. We're supposed to be at Whitefish setting up on Thursday. But we continue to try to find something. There's just like no vehicles available whatsoever. So we finally, after calling many places and looking online and, you know, just all kinds of things, we decided maybe we can find a box truck, you know, like a U-Haul or a budget rental. We finally found one, a 26-foot long U-Haul truck, a little bit of an overkill, and it won't be available till the next day. But that is the only thing we can find. So I contacted the show organizer. She was very kind and said that we could set up, miss the first day of the show, set up on Friday evening, if we could get there then, and go ahead and have the Saturday and Sunday portion of the show. So we decided that's what we do, but we still had this whole day to kill, you know, waiting until tomorrow when we can pick up the U-Haul truck. So fortunately, Buster's okay to drive around kind of carefully, just right in town, not driving too far. So we parked in the shade, and we went to we had lunch in a park. My husband took a nap in the park. Again, it's hot during the day, so we're trying to just find cool places to be. My husband and daughter took a bike ride and went to this beautiful cathedral. I stayed back at the bus. We went to a sewing store, and I got a bunch of fun fabrics to use that I use in collage and my art pieces. We went to Starbucks, and I got my Patreon stuff, because this is the 1st of July, so I need to get my downloads out for them and get my addresses to mail everything off. So I worked on that. We made another trip to the Planet Fitness for showers again. We did eat a wonderful supper at Mackenzie River Pizza. It was so good. I cut this out of a magazine, just seemed very appropriate for as we're trying to figure out how to deal with the problem. This is Buster sitting, he's got bikes mounted on the front, but it's sitting here at the diesel repair shop, which had kind of become our home away from home. And then we go on to the second, and this is the day we were able to pick up our truck and finally headed out to Whitefish. It took a couple hours just to transfer everything from Buster that we needed, so we had to get all the shows set up, all the artwork and the booth set up and all of that transferred to the U-Haul, and also some mattresses and things, because there was not going to be anywhere for us to stay in Whitefish. We had planned to spend the night in Buster, so we were going to have to sleep in the U-Haul. So that was a new experience. So off to Whitefish, we thought, well, at least we'll have air conditioning, but no, the truck air conditioner really did not work very well. But we still had a beautiful drive there. The scenery was gorgeous. We got there. They were having record high temperatures. You know, when I signed up for this show, I thought, oh yeah, we'll go up to northern Montana and it'll be cool and nice. And actually it was hotter there than it was back home in Kansas. I think it was 100 degrees that day, and so we decided to wait to set up until in the morning. Also, there was no place to park a 26-foot long U-Haul truck, so we thought we'd go early in the morning when there was no parking and we could pull up right near our spot and get unloaded and out of the way before the day started. So that's what we decided to do. We had a really hard time finding a place to eat because everywhere had a really long wait, and we finally ended up at this kind of fancy place that was in a lodge hotel type place. And by then it was kind of late in the evening and I didn't really want to have a whole lot, so I got this creme brulee, which I couldn't even finish, but it was delicious. My husband got this duck tacos, or I don't know, something kind of exotic like that. Anyway, then an artist that's participating, a local artist participating in the show, had graciously offered her yard area, she lived in the country, for visiting artists to camp at. So that's where we went for the night and slept in our U-Haul truck. New experience. And here we are. This is the art festival we were at. This is the booth we got set up early on the morning of the 3rd. There's my daughter, and you know, feel a little bit ridiculous driving this huge old U-Haul truck around, but it is what it is. So Abby, my daughter, kind of enjoyed the town and the area while we had the show. This is a little sticker postcard type thing of the town and that now, and this is inside the trunk, kind of our camping situation. We set up, we had the shower tent we set up and used as our little porta potty tent in the truck, and had behind that our mattresses. My daughter slept up on top of the shelf, that's this part that's over the cab. So once the show was done for the day, of course we were hot and we kind of have nowhere to be, so we're just kind of killing time. We went down to the dock and sat again with our feet in the cold water, very refreshing. And there was so many mama ducks and babies. This particular mama duck had 10 little babies that were swimming around with her. And she came right up to us, and it was just fun watching them. You know, one thing is you just appreciate those little things. For supper, we ate at this amazing place. I did some journaling about that. This was and I also kind of talked about our strange sleeping situation. This was probably from a Breathe magazine that I cut out. I think this one was too, maybe. And then the next day was another day of the show. It was 4th of July. I kind of have a little map of the booth here. These stars are by Loveland's Life that I ordered from her Etsy shop. This was one of the artists that we met there, and I talked a little bit about her work. It's really incredible. This is another artist that had really incredible work and was actually wanted to trade a piece with me, so that was really cool. And then I drew a little sketch here because in the evening we went to a park, found some shade, ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches again because again we don't have any way to cook along with us or anything like that. And so we sat there, we had our supper, we watched a movie on our tablet that had been downloaded, and then stayed there and watched the fireworks that evening. And then drove back to our spot to spend the night. So then the show's over at this point on Monday, and there's no big rush to get back to Helena to Buster, because we know it's going to be at least a couple days before they are going to get, well, they're not even working this day, so we know we have some time before we need to get back there and get Buster. So we had planned to go Glacier National Park, but that was kind of out of the question at this point. But we decided to just kind of hang around Whitefish and see. It's just a fun little resort town, and they have this really cool lake, City Beach they call it, and there was a river. So we decided to just do some looking around downtown. We went to this place called Amazing Crepes, and they were indeed amazing. They were huge and delicious. We went to this little shop that had fossils and rocks, and we just had lots of fun just kind of looking around there. On the way to the lake then, so that we had reserved a couple paddle boards and a tube that we were going to go on the river in that afternoon. On the way there, this little baby deer and its mama were crossing the road in front of us, and they're just so cute. And so I had to make note of that. I got really sunburned tubing down because I have not been outside all that much. I stay in my studio and work, and that's about it. And then here's my daughter up on her little sleeping shelf in the U-Haul truck. So this night, Monday night, we went ahead and left Whitefish and stayed. We were just looking for a place to spend the night. We ended up staying at this Heron Park Stables, which also allowed camping. But there, like when we got there, there was no one there. There was just this huge long row of stables, and we just kind of parked out back and spent the night there. The next day, we went to a day-use only campground and just kind of hung out, and it was really beautiful. It had some trails. My husband did some biking, my daughter did some hiking, and I, of course, set up in this beautiful surroundings on the picnic table and did some journaling, and had a lot of fun doing that. We went into the nearby town and ate at Chick-fil-A. We went to, I can't remember, we needed to get something at a Walmart. Oh, because my husband's bike broke, so he was looking for some parts for it. Didn't find any. We went to a thrift store, and then we drove on from there, and we found, we were part way to Helena, and we camped at a free spot called Owl Creek Packer Camp. Another horse place. There was a horse corral and horse trailers, and there we are in our U-Haul truck. And so we slept there and spent the night. Don was kind of worried about bears because we can't close our door all the way, so we made sure we put all the food in the cab and everything. And then he got this big, we were laughing because he had this big stick ready for in case, you know, a bear tried to get in the truck. And the drive the next day, really, this quote seemed to really fit. And this is from, oh, I can't think the name. It's abiding something. I will have to look it up and put the link in the description. But I'm her patron, and this was one. I'm her patron on Patreon, and this is one of her cutouts from her collage sheet. And it says, at some point in life, the world's beauty becomes enough. And it's like, you know, we'd had all these complications and troubles, and things had not gone the way we planned. But how can you look at this beautiful scenery and not think everything's okay, you know? So I did enjoy that. Then we got to Helena, and of course, you know, just had some time to kill again, waiting for them to get done with Buster. So we went, Abby and I went to a coffee shop. My husband went and did our laundry at a laundromat, which was nice. We took a couple trips to Planet Fitness for showers. We went to this Holter Museum of Art, so that was fun. They had this is actually a vending machine from James Burke. I think it's from Japan, but it's to represent, they had this cool art vending machine at this Holter Museum of Art, and I always love it. It's only maybe the second time that I've actually seen one of those in person. Unfortunately, it wasn't working because I really wanted to buy some little pieces of art out of there, but I just loved the idea of those. It was raining that day, so I stuck those in. And then Buster would be finished and ready to pick up in the morning, so we went to spend the night, and we had to leave the U-Haul in the morning. So we went to spend the night at the repair shop again. And Buster was sitting outside, actually, so we made the most of that opportunity to get all our stuff transferred, because there was a gap. We had to return the U-Haul before we would be able to get Buster the next day. So we thought we were just going to have to unload everything in the parking lot. I don't know. It was going to be a mess, but we were able to get everything loaded into Buster that night. So that was nice. We got that all done. And then the next morning my husband took the truck back and rode his bicycle back to the repair shop, and we actually got left. We had hoped to go through Yellowstone and the Tetons on our way to Golden, but we were kind of out of time. We had to get there the next day to get set up for the show. So we just drove the most direct route, and got into Wyoming, drove almost all the way through Wyoming, not quite. We spent the night in a rest area, and then the next morning got on into Colorado, got to Golden before lunchtime, and got our booth set up. And it takes a few hours to do that. All the stuff all hung pretty. And then we went to eat lunch at Buffalo Rose, which is a fun place. I also went to this store called Mary Graham's. It's a stationery store. I bought this washi tape there, and I bought a new orange pen there. So that was fun. And then we went back to the campground. We were staying at Chief Host, a real life campground with bathrooms and showers and everything. And it's only about 10 minutes away from where the show was in Golden, so it was a nice place. We'd stayed there before. And we just kind of hung out in the campground. I did some work in my journal. Other people napped, just kind of took it easy. Unfortunately, during that night, a freak windstorm came through, and so when we got to the show Saturday morning, this is what was greeting us. And just, just not a good feeling to see your booth at. And we did have our artwork in there. That whole row that we were in was affected. Other booths were also destroyed. And so my husband left to go try to find another tent somewhere. And meanwhile, my daughter and I quick set up the booth the best we could with no tent. But people were so kind. We had so many kindnesses. We had another artist give us one of her tables in her display to use, and rearranged her display for us. And just so many kind things. I met Rick and Jennifer of Mulberry Paper and More, which is a store that I've used for a long time as a source of very cool papers. And I had bought a book at a thrift store a couple days before that had some of these quotes in it, so I used a few of those on this page. I liked this one. There are good days and there are bad days, and this is one of them, and that just seemed perfect because while, you know, it would appear to be a very bad day, it was also a very good day because there was so much kindness shown to us. And my husband did eventually find a tent, and we got that set up. I talked a little bit about some purchases I made and some of the other artists there that I met. That evening we treated ourselves. It had been a big day. We treated ourselves to a very nice meal at the Yard House, and probably one of my favorite meals ever is there. And so that was really nice. So all in all, it was a good day, you know. So much kindness, and that really turns things around. The next day, also the sales went well. The show went well that day, so that helped too. The next day, my husband and daughter went to the breakfast that they planned to do the morning before, but we couldn't for obvious reasons. Here's how the booth ended up being set up. I rearranged the artwork there, and I put this because there were so many dogs at this show, so many cute dogs, and so we did lots of dog watching. We did people watching, but we also did a lot of dog watching. I got a new hat, which I wish I would have had yesterday. And then we headed out to get an hour or two down the road. We went as far as Lima, Colorado that night, just so we'd be a little closer to home the next day, have a little less drive. And so then the 12th, we drove home, and I picked up a little magazine along the interstate at a place we stopped and cut out some things from that. This again is that abiding life, abiding journal. I'm not sure. That same place though that I'm a patron to, she has some very cute collage sheets. And these, I always get mixed up which ones are Loveland's Life, I believe is this, and I can't remember if these are Loveland's Life or Pocket Journal Pan. So I'm just going to list all the people that I am patron to on Patreon. I'm going to list them below, and just know that all my goodies that aren't mine probably came from one of them. So and so that's it, and I'm just be ready then for our next trip to the next art show. So thanks for watching. Do you keep travel journals? If so, I'd love to hear about them. What do you use to journal in? I've used a number of different journals. This year is my first time to use Traveler's Notebook to journal in. And so far I like it. I like it because I'm able to load up all my stickers and accessories in here to have right with me. So that made it very handy. I could just have this and have everything I needed to work on it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.